August 9th, 2022 to order. Roll call, please.
Really here. Kitchinski here.
Lorick here. Kavich here.
Kuzikowski here.
Holdani here.
Snipper here.
Chandler here.
And if everybody would please take a look at the extensive minutes of the 26th. I heard you guys set a world record on that meeting. Rumor going around, it's me that holds these things up. And when you're ready, motion, please.
Snipper moves to approve the minutes of July 26th, 2022.
Second. Roll call beginning with Crowell.
Will I? Kitchinski aye.
Lorick, aye. Kavich, aye. Oh, abstain. Sorry about that.
Kuzikowski. Holdani abstains.
Snipper, aye.
Chandler abstains. Just one quick question. My mic isn't.
Press the button with the voice.
Over.
Yeah, mine either. Talk loud.
Sometimes it's the other. Yeah, she's got blinking green light on it.
Sometimes it's the right. Which one?
This one.
Not this one? This one. I'll yell into this one. And that one.
Everything is unmuted on the actual setting for it. So, right now.
And also my screen is up.
Oh.
Stand by, folks.
And my microphone is not working either.
Then go. Nothing.
Nope.
Hers just keeps blinking green.
Yeah, that's what all the other microphones are doing as well.
Okay.
So there were no significant common council actions, Board of Housing and Zoning Appeal actions, and our next quarterly Park and Recreation Commission report will be on September 27th.
Okay. Thank you very much for that, Carrie. Chauncey, if that one's working, you're welcome to sit at the front table. I know it's kind of odd. Dawn, is yours working?
No, but I'm loud enough.
Okay.
The only issue is that she may not be able to, is anything projecting on your screens from my computer?
Nothing, there's no input detected, nothing. Well, that one's gone too.
Nick, if I use the HDMI cable, will that work?
Do we have a microphone, you know, that you carry around?
That I don't believe we do. We may, you may,
I can use.
or you can just talk into Fred's.
Yeah, okay.
Okay, let's see if Carrie gets set up here.
Slide one of these down.
Thank you for sharing.
There you go. Oh, got something. Don, your microphone working? No? Chelsea got it.
Oh, no, yours isn't
Mine
working?
is on the same thing.
The screen didn't be working this morning either.
Jeez. It's obviously me coming back.
Okay,
Okay,
commissioners, can you see my screen on your screens?
Yes.
yep.
Okay. Apologies for the technical difficulties, folks, but we're going to try and proceed. Mr. Mayor?
Yes, item 7A is a plan review, site, building, and related plans submitted by Dale Richards on behalf of St. Stephen's for a bell tower addition to the existing building on the property at 1441 West Oakwood. Carrie?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. This is a request for a bell tower, which is an accessory structure on the property. It was actually part of the original plans that were approved in 2008 in terms of the location. However, the details for that were not included in that review. So that is what is being presented for tonight. It is a freestanding structure with a seating plaza, courtyard seating area. That area is roughly 28.5 by 28.5. It also includes some interior stamped concrete walkways to that new seating area. So on the screen right now is the proposed location of that bell tower and courtyard area. And although this is an accessory structure, it does not necessarily require landscaping. So anything that they are proposing around that low seating area is perfectly fine in terms of code adherence. So what they are proposing are a combination of knockout rose bushes and some other low foliage bushes. And this is just a dual graphic of what the proposed bell tower will look like. It's a steel structure with fixed bells. There is a speaker system that's at the base of the structure itself that will project the bell tones for you. There are also 4 light towers that are about 4 feet 9 inches in each corner of the seating wall that will project light up onto the bell tower itself. At the top of each of the bells is also a cross. So this is what is being presented. And if there are any questions, I can certainly try and answer them. But there is a suggested motion for approval on the screen. Mr. Mayor.
Great, thank you, Carrie. We'll move to council. I don't know, Dale, you want to add anything to it, or are you okay?
Greetings, Dale Richards, 1320 West Lois Lane, Oak Creek. St. Stephen's originally was in Milwaukee, if you remember, just down on Howell Avenue, just north of College Avenue. And back around 2009 is when we moved to Oak Creek. And maybe if your brain cells are still functioning from back then, you can recall that the bell tower or steeple was struck by lightning and it was caught on film at Milwaukee's airport. And so those bells are kind of special to us. And we took them with us. They were removed and put on the grass where this current location is. And it's been sitting there ever since. And the reason for not putting them up back then was because the parish just didn't have the money and the cash flow to be able to handle putting up a new building and the bell tower. And we're at that point in time where the parish has come together that we'd like to get it up within the next 2 years. So I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Great, thank you, Dale. Dawn, you want to start us off?
Yeah, I have no questions.
Ashley?
No questions, thank you.
Greg?
No questions. It looks very nice.
Chris?
This is my parish, and I have no questions. I support this 100%.
Don?
No questions.
Brad?
No questions.
Chauncey?
I do
That's right.
I do have one question.
Yes, ma'am.
Can you provide a little more information on the recordings, the bell recording? So the bells, they will function, yet you'll also have the recordings playing?
Yes, the bells are gonna go off, every hour, starting at 8 AM for 12 hours. So typically, it's gonna be 8 AM, 9 AM, et cetera, through 8 PM at night. At 12 noon, there'll be some sort of song or melody or whatever that's gonna last for about 30 seconds, 35 seconds. Other than that, it won't be played, at night. And, maybe for holidays or a funeral, it might go off. But other than that, that's it.
Okay, in addition to that, the information we received, there are speakers that are located close to the bells. So is that to
That
project the
speakers-
sound of the
yes,
bell
yes,
themselves?
yes.
Oh, okay. Okay, thank you.
Okay. I think it's a beautiful addition to the church. I do remember the old one. I was part of that parish when I was struck by lightning. And, I think it's great that it's going in there. It's a beautiful piece and great addition. And during the anniversary, I think it's totally appropriate. So.
Yeah, I thought, the pastor at that time was a Father Richard Lista. He just happened to pass away in the past year. But it was him and Alderman Guzikowski that turned around and made that happen to move that church to Oak Creek. And that was no small task back then, because at that point in time, the Milwaukee County Airport had put together what they called their GMI master plan, and that GMI master plan for the C1 runway was going to consummate the current location of the church. So St. Stephen's was really put on the carpet for turning around and trying to sell their property, which my personal opinion is that the county should have bought them out. So it made things very difficult from a financial standpoint for the church to move, to relocate, and then put up a bell tower. So that's part of the reason why that bell tower didn't get put up at that point in time.
Okay. Any other further discussion or questions? Okay, motion on 7A, please.
Seifert moves to approve the site, building, and related plans submitted by Dale Richards, St. Stephen's Congregation for the property at 1441 West Oakwood Road, with the condition that all detailed final plans are submitted in digital format to the Department of Community Development prior to submission of permit applications.
Guzikowski, second.
Roll call, starting with Ashley.
Kipchinsky, aye.
Laura, aye. Gavich, aye.
Guzikowski,
Ladani, aye. Seifert, aye.
Chair Blair,
Grillo, aye.
Great. All set.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Next up, we have 7B, and it's a plan review of site, building, and related plans submitted by Daniel Meyer, Oak Creek Congregation of the Jehovah Witness Corporation, for site and building modifications on the property at 8720 South Sunnyview Drive. Carrie.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. This is a request for exterior building modifications, a couple of site modifications as well. Most of this is centered around kind of fixing up the exterior of the building. So you'll see things like roof fascia, roof shingles, fascia, siding replacement in certain areas, new soffits and gutters and downspouts and things like that. Typically, those issues don't come to the Plan Commission, although replacement of siding probably in certain cases, if it was something new, would come to you. What is really the reason for coming to the Plan Commission is the addition of the dormer and then a ground mechanical unit that needed to be screened. They also have added a couple of walkways around the facility. So this is the existing site plan, and it'll be a little bit difficult to see exactly what those changes are. But for the most part, there is a concrete walkway that is concentrated on the south, kind of wraps around a little bit to the west, maybe even a little bit to the east. But this is proposing kind of what they call a ribbon of concrete, a small walkway around the entire building, because they are actually changing out some of the ground mechanicals on the north as well. It's a compressor unit that they're going to be adding there. So here's the proposal. You can see that ribbon walkway around. They are also redoing the concrete underneath the existing carport, and they're doing a little bit of work on the carport as well. Nothing that would require specific site and building plan review, because it's really just fixing things, upkeep, bit of tuck pointing on the brick and things like that. The proposed elevations that I'm going to be showing you, mostly what we're going to be focusing on is the east elevation. So the south, they're replacing the shingles and then doing those upgrades to the gutters, downspouts, fascia, things like that. The one section of siding that they were replacing is on the southwest corner. They were proposing to replace it with cedar siding. And there is one question on here, I believe it's a typo because there is existing brick next to it, but it's called out as cedar siding, but that's, unless they're actually proposing to change out the brick with siding, it's just, I believe, a typo. On the west, they're also moving some of the signage around, but the compressor unit you can see is on the north side of the building. You can see my cursor right here. It's set back from the road a little bit, so the recommendation is that they incorporate a couple of bushes to screen it from Sunnyview Drive if at all possible. North elevation, there is this that's the compressor unit that we were just talking about. This fence is actually not what is being proposed. There's an existing fence there, and that'll be important once we get to the east elevation, because you can see this fence also on the side. It kind of goes around the building to the property line and then goes around their detached building, which I believe used to be kind of function as a quarters. So the dormer is being proposed on the east. That is the side of their main worship hall. And the composite fence that's being proposed on the east side, kind of underneath the dormer, that's actually screening ground mechanical unit that they are installing there. It's 6 foot tall. Again, it's made of composite. There's no issues with that particular material for the screening purpose. They are also proposing one new light fixture in their existing parking lot on an existing pole. So we just have the requirement that they meet the code for that new fixture. So it has to be shielded, directed downward, and because it is across from an existing residential development, it's going to be limited to a maximum of 3,500 kelvins. So that's included in the suggested motion with the conditions on the screen. Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Carrie. Before we go to the commission, does the applicant want to say anything? Come on up, ma'am. We'll need your name and address, please.
Hi, my name is Tina Anderson. My address is 4861 North Green Bay Avenue, and that is in Milwaukee, Wisconsin.
Okay.
Thank you. And I'm representing, and Carrie is correct, that was a typo with the cedar shingle, so that is a typo. And everything that we are requesting or submitting is really for maintenance and upkeep of our building. Some of these items have reached their lifetime maximum, and so we want to make sure that we are doing our best to make sure that we are maintaining a beautiful building in the city of Oak Creek.
Okay.
Okay, and we will implement all the suggestions that were made in the review. We have no problem with any of those recommendations that were done.
Great, thank you for that.
Thank you.
Okay, Chelsea, you want to start us off?
No question.
Fred?
No questions.
Don?
No questions.
Chris?
No questions.
Greg?
I have no questions, thank you.
Ashley?
No questions, thank you.
Don?
Nothing for me.
No, I think the applicant spelled it out. It's just a beautification project, and we appreciate you investing back in. And,
Thank you.
Wish you well, and thank you for taking the suggestions of our staff.
Thank
They
you.
do know what they're doing. Thank you.
Thank you, appreciate it.
Okay, motion on 7B, please.
Moves to approve site and building plans submitted by Daniel Mayer, Oak Creek Congregation of Jehovah's Witnesses Corporation for the property at 8720 South Sunnyview Drive with the following conditions. Number 1, that all relevant code requirements remain in effect. Number 2, that all mechanical equipment, transformers, and utility boxes, ground, building, and rooftop shall be screened from view. Number 3, that all light sources are shielded and directed downward, that the color temperature of the fixtures are limited to a maximum of 3,500 kelvins. And number 4, that all revised plans are submitted in digital format for review and approval by the Department of Community Development prior to the submission of permit applications.
Guzekowski, second. Roll call, start with Craig.
Clark, aye.
David Chai.
Guzekowski.
Ladani, aye.
Seifert, aye.
Chandler, I.
Gorilla Eye.
Kipchinsky, aye.
Okay. Item C is another plan review, site building and related plans submitted by Matt Gorniak, JMG Contractors LLC for pergola addition on the property at 10-880 South Nicholson Road. Jack.
All right, thank you, Mr. Mayor. This is a proposal, like the mayor said, for an accessory structure. It's a pergola attached to the parsonage for the Parkway Apostolic Church. Dimensions of the pergola are 17 foot by 18 foot and 4 inch, and it has a height of 9 feet 4 inches. As proposed, the pergola meets all setback requirements, and no other changes are proposed to the site. With that being said, there's a motion for commissioners to consider. Thanks.
Okay, thank you, Jack. Applicant want to say anything? Matt, you want to say anything before we start, or just wait on questions?
That's pretty simple structure, so I'll take any questions if you have any.
Okay. We'll get you, give me your name and address.
Matthew Gorniak, 2525 Antoinette Trail, Racine, Wisconsin.
Okay. Dawn, anything?
I have no questions.
Ashley?
No questions.
Greg?
No questions.
Chris?
No questions.
Don?
No questions either.
Fred?
No questions.
Chauncey?
No question.
I have none here, as you said, pretty simple structure. I think we got every denomination in here.
I think so.
Building.
Church night tonight, huh?
So, with that, we'll look for a motion. Was that C7C?
Seifert moves that the planning commission approves the site and building plan submitted by Matthew Gorniak, JMG Contractors for the property at 10,880 South Nicholson Road with the following conditions: that all relevant code requirements remain in effect. 2, that all detailed revised plans are submitted in digital format to the Department of Community Development prior to submission of permit applications.
Clark, seconds.
Roll call, beginning with me. Aye.
Guzekowski, aye.
Ladani, aye.
Seifert, aye.
Chandler, I.
Gorilla Eye.
Kipchinsky, aye.
Clark, aye.
Okay, good luck. That brings us to 7D, and that's plan review, site and related plans submitted by Oak Creek Veterinary and Care for an expansion of the parking lot on the property at 8,000 South Howell Avenue. Jack, again.
Yep. All right. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Yep. This is a proposal to expand the parking lot on the east side of the property. And it's also to remove the existing trash enclosure while adding a new trash enclosure directly north of the proposed parking lot. This is the existing site plan. As you can see, the proposed parking lot, well, this is the existing, trash enclosure is right where that mouse is. That's the existing one. And then the proposed parking lot will be on the east side of the property. Currently, there are 25 stalls for the Oak Creek Veterinary Care building on the property. The proposal is for an additional 9 parking stalls. While the proposal does exceed 20% of the maximum parking allowed, staff do not have any concerns as the original plans approved by Plan Commission in 2013 showed the future expansion prior to a parking allowance. Additionally, the property still maintains 30% green space requirements and adheres to the approved stormwater management plan for the area. As mentioned, there's also the trash enclosure that does meet all requirements per code. However, staff would like to confirm whether or not the landscaping along the exterior of the trash enclosure will be installed every 3 feet per code. With that being said, there are landscaping plans that include a landscaping strip on the east side of the parking lot along with vegetation surrounding the parking lot and proposed trash enclosure. With that being said, there is a suggested motion on the screen. Thank you.
Thank you, Jack. Applicant, anything you want to say anything, or if you'd like, you come up or you can wait for questions. Okay, sir. Okay, let's go to it. Chauncey, you want to start us out?
I do have a question for the applicant.
Yep, name and address, please.
Sure. Good evening, Bert Zenker, S97 W13629 Stonebridge Way, Muskego. Yes.
Can you provide a little more information in regards to the trash enclosure? Based on the information we have, it's being removed and then replaced?
Yeah, one of the options is just leaving it alone, leaving it exactly where it's at. Or if they decide that they want to, remove that and put it in the new location, it would essentially be built in kind. We would use the same materials and look of the enclosure, and we would reuse the gates. So essentially, it would be looking exactly the same in a different location.
And so I have a question for Jack. So what is the preferred way or recommended way that meets the code?
Sorry for the difficulty. But, yeah, so the trash enclosure, it has to match the existing building on the property. I believe they're using masonry. That is, an approved material per code, and it matches, it's durable. And the only problem staff had is with the landscaping. We just wanted to confirm whether or not the landscaping will be installed every 3 feet for a softening effect. Thanks.
So what are the plans for the trash enclosure? With your two options, you'll just pick one?
Right now, they would look to not have to move it.
Okay, and leave them off.
But we figured, since we were coming to Plan Commission as an option, that we would put that on there, so.
Okay, and then my next question is in regards to the installation or the landscaping, similar to what Jack was referring to. Can you provide a little more information about that as well?
Yes, if we decide that we're going to reconstruct the enclosure where we're showing it on the plan, we would then meet staff's requirements of the landscaping around to, as I believe you said, soften the edge of that enclosure.
Thank you.
Yep.
Okay. Fred?
No questions.
Don?
No questions.
Chris?
No questions.
Greg?
No questions.
Ashley?
No questions, thank you.
Don?
Nothing for me.
No, I really have nothing other than we approve this building's from 2013 already? Holy smokes. Boy, time goes quick. I didn't think it was that long ago.
It was right before I started, and I started in July of 2013.
Wow.
So I believe it was approved in April, something like that, April 2013.
I remember doing it. I just don't remember it being that long ago. So, okay. No questions from me. So, if there's no further discussion or questions, motion on D.
Lorick moves to approve site and related plans submitted by Oak Creek Veterinary Care for the property at 8,000 South Howell Avenue with the following conditions. Number one, that all relevant code requirements remain in effect. Number two, that the plans are revised to include locations and screening for any new mechanical equipment, transformers, and utilities. Number three, that the landscape plans are revised to incorporate details of the proposed plantings at installation and maturity. Number four, that the trash enclosures are screened per code. Number five, that all light sources are shielded and directed downward. That the color temperature of the fixtures are limited to a maximum of 5,000 kelvins. And number six, that all revised plans are submitted in digital format for review and approval by the Department of Community Development prior to the submission of permit applications.
Guzekowski, a second.
Roll call, beginning with you, Chris.
Guzekowski, aye.
Ladani, aye. Seifert, aye.
Chandler, aye.
Grillo, aye.
Kipchinsky, aye.
Lorick, aye.
Kavich, aye. And that'll give us a 7E, and that's a plan review site.
Hey, Dan,
Yes.
just what's going on with the mics, it's only allowing 8 of them to be on at the same time. So if everyone just keeps yours off and only turn it on when you want to speak, we should all be able to use our microphones. So
Thank you for figuring that out, Commissioner Ladani. That was very good.
I don't know why it's doing that, but that's what
Very
it's doing.
good. 7E, plan review. Review site building plan submitted by Kate Montrose, Rinka Inc. for exterior modifications to the proposed apartment buildings on the property at 4005 East Lake Vista Parkway. Carrie?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So this is part of Lakeshore Commons. They are in the traditional neighborhood development, plan unit development. And these are the A9 buildings that were previously approved back in January of this year. What is being proposed are some revisions to the balconies that were on some of the elevations for the two buildings. On the north building specifically, we're talking about the north, northeast, and the east or courtyard elevations. And then on the south building, kind of the reverse, the north or courtyard, and then the northeast and east elevations. And I promise you it'll make a little bit more sense once we get you oriented right here. So these are the two buildings that were previously reviewed, north and south. So that's your orientation. Breakwater Boulevard is that main north-south thoroughfare through the development here. The park, Lake Vista Park, is over just off screen on the kind of northeast. And then to the south, much farther south, is Lake Vista Boulevard, or what is known as Old Ryan Road, was known as Old Ryan Road. So let's go building by building. On the north building, we are looking at 6. So it's unfortunately covered up by this disclaimer here, but it is the north side of the building, so the north elevation. And the red arrows are meant to direct your attention to the areas where those changes are occurring. So on the left, under approved, you see what the balconies were approved to look like. So kind of those sliding glass doors and the windows that are associated with it, those have gotten a little bit smaller in the proposal on the right. So there's, 3 areas on the north elevation that would change. And this is what the change to the rendering would look like. So on the left, again, is what was approved, and on the corner kind of gives you an idea of how those changes would lay out in a rendered perspective on the right. And we don't have renderings for the entire elevation, but at least you have the corner to give you an idea of how the building would then present itself to those who are going south on Breakwater Boulevard. We're going to be doing these kind of comparisons for every portion of the building that's being changed. So if you have any questions, if I need to go back, please let me know.
Carrie, just to be clear, that soffit's going to be gone over the top patio.
That is also being proposed.
Okay.
Okay. Turning now to 7, which again is kind of covered up by that disclaimer. 7 is the northeast corner. So this is actually what's kind of facing or oriented toward the park a little bit. Again, the blue arrows are intended to draw your attention to those patios where the sliding glass doors are going to be reduced in width. So on the left is what was approved in January, and what is on the right is what's being proposed. And here's a rendering kind of giving you an idea of how that would change. Now you'll notice that on the left, it almost looks like a wraparound porch or a wraparound balcony that is on the corner that is proposed to now be reduced to one side. Finally, on the north building, which is the courtyard elevation we're going to end with, it's the corner that we're going to be talking about with the reduction. So I'm going to blow up these 2 areas. Again, on the left, orange arrows are pointing to what was approved, and on the right is what's being proposed, so that reduction again. Are there any questions with the proposal for the north building? Okay, moving on to the south building. We're going to start with the northeast, or the north elevation corner, courtyard elevation. So what would be mirroring what we just saw for the north building. Green arrows are pointing toward the corner, which we're going to discuss here. And that wraparound balcony is going to be reduced to what is shown on the right. Okay, moving now to the northeast. The reduction in the width of the sliding glass doors on the left was what was approved, and what's on the right is that proposed reduction. Most of these look pretty much the same as what's being on the north building, no mirroring it on the south. Then finally, on the east elevation, which is shown on as 6, again, that reduction in the width of those sliding glass doors in basically the corner area, that's all being reduced from what was approved in January. So on the left, January, and on the right, what is proposed. Are there any questions with either of the proposed building changes?
I just have one observation question. Your mic is on. There you go. Okay, do I see a change in the railing as well on all?
I don't believe that they're changing the railing other than to make it possibly shorter with those reductions from the wraparound, but I will defer to the applicant.
Name and address, Katie?
Katie Menakis, with Finca, 756 North Milwaukee Street, Milwaukee, Wisconsin, 53202. To answer the question, the railing has stayed the same, just the extensions of certain locations. I did want to clarify that the modification is for 56 of the 199 units in the reduction of glazing. So the two window systems, or the two door balcony systems, are either 12-foot or 8-foot. The 8-foot exists elsewhere on the project. We're just looking at those individual strips that Carrie has identified as going to the standard 8-foot module. And then the balcony, the corner balconies that we're considering not turning the corner, are only at 7 instances. So it's a really small portion of the building. I did want to, I guess I can wait for other questions, but I did have a couple of things I wanted to highlight in general about intention. Every time, this is not our first time working with the municipality. We always strive for high level of design. Since January, there's a approximately 15 to 20% increase in construction costs. So we have done substantial VE efforts to make sure that the design integrity stays consistent. We had to reduce some in the inside layout, materialities. This is our proposal that we feel does not affect negatively the experience from the tenants or the overall design. It does look like the proposed is slightly grayer as opposed to the whiter. That's a rendering issue. It's the same exterior material options there. If this is not an option, we would have to do a more dramatic change with the reduction of a footprint just because of construction costs and what we need to meet for the project. Are there any other questions?
I think so.
Yeah, I would like to say that this drastically changes it for me.
Okay.
The glazing, the 4 windows across, I am an apartment dweller with the extension of those of the balconies, and with those, with the 4 windows versus the 2, would be a game changer. As far as I renting it. And I really think this is a prime piece of real estate that we're trying to make the best. And I would hope that there would be other ways of changing it. I mean, when you look at, one looks like an apartment building like all other apartment buildings in the city, and the other looks like, a prime area, a prime apartment building. I just think there's a huge difference.
If I may, excuse me, the typical sliding glass door in a premium product would be like 6 by 8. Typically, Rinka does 8 by 8 minimum, so we already increase it. This 12 by 8 is really unprecedented in the community. We've done it in one other project in Milwaukee. I would hope this wouldn't be held to a different level that other comparable primary or premier projects in the municipality. I agree that it is a reduction, which is why we're proposing minimally, that without changing materials or square footage. This is after lots of coordination with the general contractor, what we feel is the least impactful in the overall design. So we would have to reduce square footage, reduce unit count, or even potentially reduce a level to get the same savings that we would with this reduction in glazing.
Yeah, I understand, but where it is, it's on the lakefront, overlooking the park. I mean, it should be, especially the exterior, the wraparound decks, things like that, made it special for that area. I would hate to just go back to a standard, that we see in the city often. Those are my comments.
Okay. Ashley,
Nothing from engineering, thank you.
Greg,
I guess I would tend to agree with Dawn. I personally don't like the changes, but it's also not my building that I'm designing and I don't plan on living there. But I do think it does change the look of it. I really like the overhang balconies, but I understand that you're trying to do cost savings here, and I don't think, I by no means think that the proposed is anything that I would deny. I just don't like the changes personally. I really think it stands out the way it was proposed originally.
Chris?
I agree with my cohorts here. I would not be in favor. I understand where you're coming from the cost perspective, but I think it makes it look like a different building.
Don?
No questions at this time.
Brad?
No questions.
Jocelyn?
I do have one question. So what were the other cost reduction options?
I think we accepted about 40. We're trying to reduce lots of little things that would be unnoticeable as opposed to a drastic thing, which again, this interpretation is based on what that is. But this was one of a handful. I didn't bring the list with me, but some reduction in scope on interior finishes, ceiling elements, reduction from wood finish to drywall painted finish. The amenity spaces are comparable to parterre, which is a very high level. So this was the one exterior material without adjusting the site or the interior any further that we think that would be subpar to comparable projects.
Thank you.
Okay, I don't have a lot to say. I agree with the rest of the commission. It's a different building. I think Greg summed it up well, though. I understand what you're trying to do, value engineer some price points in here. We all know what inflation's done and building costs and all that. So, I do prefer the first one, but if you feel you still have a product that's rentable and is going to be, more importantly, affordable down there as well, I'll be okay.
Honestly, I prefer to don't,
No,
which is why
I get it. I mean, we'd all like to build the biggest and best without a doubt. And I know we always strive to get there. But sometimes there's a happy medium too.
Is there a general understanding on if it's the glazing or the balconies or both, or the combination?
To me, I get it. I mean, the balconies are cool, without a doubt, but I think it's more the glazing. It just sets that end piece off a little bit more.
I think the overhang portion is kind of a minor detail in my mind. The glazing, at least on that very corner one, not necessarily the inboard
one, yeah.
The corner one though, I would like to see the larger glazing, and I do like the overhang balcony. I think it creates an effect where it's not just a square building. With that said though, if you originally came with what's proposed today, I don't think it would have been denied. I wouldn't have denied it. It just looks like a drastic change to me.
And I think that's a valid point, Greg. I mean, you still have 8 foot worth of windows, I think Katie mentioned, versus 12. So, realistically, you're taking 2 feet of window off each side. And I know that's significant, but I think to Greg's point, it wouldn't have got shot down here in the first place.
No, but it doesn't compare to parterre. Parterre does have the wraparounds. Parterre has the bigger windows. I mean, so we are going, it's not going to be like next door.
Right. And again, I don't think we need everything to be like next door, because we're dealing with different locations, different cost factors as well, price points, things of that nature, timing.
Well, right, and I would think that this would be the highest price point in the city.
I can speak, I was a manager on Parterre and that went for, approximately $35 to $40 less per square foot than construction costs even before we reduced the price. So it was a different time with cost of materials.
Yeah. Okay, further discussion? Okay, seeing none, motion on E, please.
Moves to approve the site and building plans submitted by Katie Monacos Rinka for the A9 multifamily residential buildings on the property at 4005 East Lake Vista Parkway with the following conditions. Number one, that all relevant code requirements, conditions of the traditional neighborhood development, planned unit development, and conditions of approval from January 11th, 2022 remain in effect. And number two, that all revised plans, site, building, landscaping are submitted in digital format for review by the Department of Community Development prior to the submission of building permit applications.
Kuzikowski will second.
Roll call beginning with Don.
Ladani, aye.
Seifert, aye.
Chandler, no.
Carrillo, no.
Jinsky, aye.
Lorick, aye.
Kavich, aye.
Kuzikowski, no.
You made it. Right? 5-3. Okay, made it. Okay, excellent. That would get us to some announcements and adjournments. Just really quickly, I had the privilege of being at the Hilton Homewood Suites today over by IKEA. We cut the ribbon there. They have been open for business, and Planning Commission had a large hand in that building. Carrie, you were there, Jack was there, Mike was there. Came out beautiful. If you get an opportunity, they're not going to open up the rooms and everything to you, but you can walk into the lobby and probably see the conference room and the bar area. And I think you're going to be impressed as to what planning did there and just the way the building lays out and the brickwork. And we worked on that one for quite a bit. But just to let you know, I should be really proud of what the Planning Commission helped put together there. So, Carrie, anything to add?
I think that, like the mayor said, it is an impressive building. It's the first conference space that is substantial conference space in a hotel in the city. There are other hotels that have meeting rooms and kind of larger spaces, but I don't believe that we have anything that is quite as large as the roughly 11,000 square feet conference center that we now have. It did turn out very well. And I think that if you do go in there and you take a look around, you can certainly take a look at the lobby area, which doesn't really look like you're walking into a hotel, quite frankly. You will be able to look at the bar area, which I believe will have hours of operation that will be accessible to the public as well, not just for conference goers. And there is a swimming pool in case anybody is interested in that. We were very happy to work with the developers of that project. I think they were great to work with, and it is something that I think the commission would be very proud of.
Yeah, very much should be. It's beautiful and it's booking up. They're doing very well. They're very impressed as to what they're doing for the week and a half, 2 weeks they've been open. So, and Dawn, what's going on at the market?
Week 14 of the market. And this will be your last week to be able to get Oak Creek grown peaches for sale. No one even knew we had an orchard, but yes, we have an orchard and this is the last week of peaches.
Very good. Okay. Anything else from anybody else? If not, motion for adjournment.
Carrillo moves to adjourn at 6:52.
Seifert seconds.
Brad, you want to start us off on the roll call?
Seifert, aye.
Chandler,
Carrillo, aye.
Jinsky, aye.
Clark, aye.
David, aye.
Guzekowski, aye.
Hey, that is it. Good night, everybody.